May we all rise for the national anthem, please? Namaste and good afternoon. I am Shuli and I have been honored with the responsibility of sharing a brief introduction about Karista Foundation. Karista is a Greek word which means charity, giving and caring. Karista Foundation was founded on the foundations of caring for the elderly, artists, artisans and holistically the entire planet. Karista Foundation's logo is a handmade vase because we support handicrafts, artisans, and Indian art and culture. We aspire to identify artistic talent from the underprivileged section of society to provide them with opportunities to receive artistic education. We are also championing the need for psychological care for the elderly. We hold group and private sound healing sessions to help minimize stress and depression, which is offered free to the senior citizens. In the last 2 years, we have organized regular fundraisers through Jalsa, a gathering of intellectual individuals every month, where performances of brilliant but lesser known artists were appreciated and encouraged. The monthly Jalsa raised awareness and sensitized the audience about elderly care by showcasing our short film Poonam. All in all, Karista Foundation is founded with passion and stands for elderly psychological care, promoting artists, Indian art, and a cleaner and greener planet. Karista Foundation is grateful for the unflinching support received from the event's lead partner, SENI, by TZMO Group and associate sponsor Skybarge Flight Private Limited. Today's National Symposium on Elderly Psychological Care is supported by All India Radio, Aerotatvika, Marina Handcrafts, and Sukhmanch Theatre. We are deeply grateful to all our partners and supporters. My parents and my dear audience here, I would like to present this invocation song called Maro Pranam.
Bihari
Loneliness has turned into a global epidemic due to urbanization and lifestyle changes, due to mobile phones, social media, and other lonely habits. Health-wise, loneliness is as bad as smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Does that sound alarming to you? 50% of Parisians live alone, and over 30% of UK households are one person. Over 50% of elders above the age of 75 live alone in UK. Depression and other mental disorders have become rampant, in addition to the economic cost. This is just an example, and the scenario across the globe, including India, is no better. As per Census 2011, India has over 104 million elders, which is 8.6% of the population aged over 60, where females outnumber males. India has undergone a demographic transition in the past 50 years, tripling the elder count. This percentage is slated to rise to 11.6% of the population, or 159 million by 2025, according to United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Now talking about what Karista intends to do. Karista Foundation is attempting to address the loneliness and depression in elders. In India, we must work towards having a set of governance or policies that address the issue. The National Symposium on Elder Psychological Care aims to raise awareness about this issue and involve the individual, social, corporate, government cooperation to help create a field of happiness, joy, and laughter for elders. Poonam, the social short that showcases their loneliness and need for companionship. The question we need to ask ourselves is, are we giving our elders hope? Since time immemorial, storytelling has been a powerful medium of communication. In that whole scheme visual, storytelling through film is the strongest medium of evoking an emotional response. We hope our film has stirred your emotions at various levels.
The next special guest, may I call upon Dr. Patanjani Dev Nayar to please come here and share a few insightful perspectives.
Thank you so much. Esteemed guest of honor, Vinitji, an honor to see you face to face. Many of the other guests, or I would say co-panelists who have been named by Ms. Shilpi. Thank you. Elena and other guests, especially I would refer to, if you allow me, as Auntie Ji, because that's the common way we refer to people whom we do not know very well, but we want to offer our respects. So Auntie Ji and Shilpi, first of all, I'd like to compliment you the way you have pulled on all the threads together. Education, politics, counseling, arts, entrepreneurs, chairpersons, young people. That's I would think the right way to go about, but a very difficult task on how you weave in. So you've been a good weaver. Personally, having done such things all through my life, I realize how difficult they are and how to really bring the threads together. So first compliment to you. I have no intention to pose as an expert, ma'am. I'm not. I just happened to be picked up by WHO as one of the doctors and as the regional advisor for disability, injury prevention and rehabilitation. But kuch sansmaran, kuch cheez, Elena, allow me to change languages because I'm adapted both, and like few things can be said better in Hindi and Punjabi rather than in English. So I'll keep shifting. But sir, kuch sansmaran jo hain or kuch issues, we need to bring them together. This is a task which is important. Numbers are all known to us, so I will not especially bore my young people with the numbers, but they're hugely significant. That is around 15% of people, aged people, suffer from serious psychological deficiency or areas including loneliness, depression. 70% of those who are lonely can go into depression. You know, those are some of the global figures coming up. Sir, next सवाल आता है, that's a problem statement, but context. Elderly की क्या needs हैं? Are we sitting here? Are we trying to pose them as if they require something extra, special? They are demanding things from us. Many times, you know, that's a feeling when comes up. Oh, my Dadaji or Dadiji or my Nana wants this or that area. Is it that there are special needs for the elderly? Or the most of the needs are the human needs of being cared for, being valued, feeling secure, having something important to do in life so that you're feeling validated, related to, relating to others? Are those not needs of every one of us sitting in this room? It is not that the needs of the elderly change. It is the society is unable to meet all of them after a certain time. So the onus does not lie that the elderly need something or more. The onus lies on us, each one of us as individuals, as families, as communities, and then as nations, to fulfill those needs because we are obligated to do that. So unless we realize that there's an obligation on all of us to do it, that we have accountability, Ma'am Mitaji, to fulfill the needs the way we fulfill for our children, for our adolescents, or the area similarly for the elderly. So that's one context. It's not that the needs start differing too much. The context of the elderly life makes, so it's not only the society's fault. What happens is things change. When you're younger, you're running to catch a bus or to drive to the job, you have friends, you have arguments. Those are a very important part of life to relate. You know, you learn from them. Arguments are different from aggression or something still worse. So you have relations either in the family, at the job, in the society. You're voting, you have opinions, you fight. As age changes, there is widowhood, widowers, you retire, you go into a cocoon, your energies are lowered down, so you cannot run to catch a bus, so you withdraw. So the context is some part of the psychological problems of the elderly are self-made. Some are because of social construct. Some start because of medical issues, which my doctor colleague sitting here and many of the other people will well understand. So we have three big components here coming up. And that is where we'll have to work for. I'm very pleased to see your short films on assistive technology is one of my areas of working with this disability. So we work in WHO has come up with a list of 50 products, assistive technology products, many of them for the elderly, starting from the walkers to elderly sanitary pads to pill counter, just 10 rupees. But because people forget, did I take my morning dose or not? So we have a pill counter doing that, just less than 10 rupees, but a very important assistive aid for the people. So my August gathering and audience and friends here, and the younger friends, I equally include you as friends. So when we realize we have these three needs, few of them are policy matters. So I'm very happy and you are here. And as many a times has been mentioned about our Pradhan Mantri ji, you want to say something? I know there's a resonance, but I'm trying to change positions to see the resonance is less. So we realize that this is now a seriously caring nation for all and trying to do things. We have a huge backlog of issues and problems, but that itself would mean that we have less time. So if I have a backlog of problems, I need to deal with them with more, I would say, speed, vociferously, with much more attention, and that's what we're trying to do. So there are certain policy matters, and we are happy to, and one of them is, how do you give symbols for the elderly that you care for them? Maybe that's to do with their interest rates of the banks, concessional fares or so, or along with an attendant, which we do that. So multiple areas, policy matters would come in. Care of the elderly, abuse of the elderly is rampant, sir. Just because we don't talk about it, we don't think that this abuse is not there. It's not only sexual abuse, it's also physical abuse, emotional abuse, ma'am. Abuse can be of many kinds. It exists, it persists. So we have to tackle that also, starting from the policy front. So the first thing is to recognize that there is a need for policy changes in multiple areas, starting from finance to security. Those are things required. Secondly, ma'am, comes up issues, rather than making it a medicalization of the issues of the elderly, but there's a crucial medical part also that it needs to be tackled with. That is up to us on geriatric care. I know RD really brought it up, that the number of geriatricians in India is pathetic. So again, it comes to policy issue. The way we are working now, so one of my areas when EG was on improving emergency and trauma systems in India. Now we are working with the UP government. Just 2 months ago I was with the Durga Shakti Nagpalji to start revamp the emergency and trauma centers in UP there. So one of the policy matters would also come up for these, the way the elderly require is geriatric care, indeed that. However, more important would be, and this is for the entrepreneur and many of us and the younger one, so one of the greatest needs comes up is if not all elderly can afford an attendant, many can. And you don't have trained attendants. In fact, for my own father, who was the chairman of one of the nationalized banks, when he needed day-to-day care, we were not able to get, either you get a nurse, but he didn't require nursing. He required somebody to take him to the toilet, to walk with him, help him in wear clothes. So you don't have people who are trained as attendants. You don't have that. And that's where we are working now with the, in Delhi University and Ambedkar University to develop a 2-month training course so that a lot of young people under the Skill India program could be trained to be attendants for the elderly. So there's a huge need, but there is a huge supply gap. So we bring them together under the Skill India, and we realized that it wasn't one of the Skill India programs. It didn't look at it. So we have worked around this system. That's okay. Medical colleges, Safdarjung Hospital, the medical college is doing that. So we'll produce, say, first batch or 2 batches, and then let it up for the government to take it as and scale it up in other parts of the country. That's part. My last couple of minutes would be on, Shilpi had asked me to speak on loneliness for the elderly. परिभाषा क्या है सर loneliness की? Who's lonely? A person who's alone is lonely? Usually not. People are pretty comfortable with themselves. So loneliness is again a personal socio construct. I feel lonely, so thus I am lonely. Even if I have 10 people around me, because I'm unable to relate. I do not smile. I do not look up to the uncle. I was talking to Mitaji when we were felicitating our young singer here that हौसला अफजाई करना ज़रूरी है. That's how you relate to people. So loneliness is a personal social construct, and one of the best way of managing is how do you prepare for your elderly days when you are little younger or in mid-50s or earlier. So it is the lifespan course which is going to determine the way you manage your elderly years. It's not necessarily that you start preparing for your days of the elderly the day you retire and after that. It has to start 15, 20 years ago. And that means I think my colleagues here would be much better than me talking about loneliness, counseling them, how to go about. But certain factors which either make people lonely and then towards depression, or bring them up and lead normal, happy, active lives, even whichever age they are isolation, rejection, aggression, and negative thoughts. So if you try to isolate ourselves, I was in Gurgaon, 37 kilometers away, at a family function, but I had promised Shilpi that I'll come. I could have easily told her at the last moment, Mitaji, no, I'm so tired, I can't come. So I would have isolated myself. I would have rejected a place where I can meet so many more diverse culture people and who stimulate me not only mentally but emotionally and spiritually. So that's one part, let's say. In the end, I would like to compliment one of the speakers who brought up, and especially Shadab Madam Ji, on education. Being spiritual is a very important part of all aspects of life. Religion is your choice, spirituality tells us it's not your choice. It is a defining feature of humanity. That is what is important. We give it up on our peril, on social peril. So being spiritual is not a thing which you can choose to say. You can choose to say I'm an atheist, but there's hardly a person who can say I'm not spiritual, because that itself makes a person the enemy of the rest of us. So I'd like to end up with this point, that a lot can be done for the psychological care of the elderly by we ourselves to prepare, but there are certain conditions which need to be dealt with the society. The onus is on the society. Sir, I cannot stop, or a person cannot stop from becoming a widower, or children going abroad and you're left alone. So social construct, the small family norm has hurt people 30 years later. We didn't realize when we were talking about small family norm earlier. Today you realize that people are just left with no one. So what has happened is they have been churning in the society, and to find out simplistic answers would be hurtful. There are no simplistic answers to this problem here, but to say there are no answers would itself also be very negative. So we got to put our heads together and find out, and you can make cases into 3 or 4 baskets that such people require such kind of thing, including medical and psychological help. That's very important coming up. But a large number of it can do without that. You know, it's just the social issues, and where we can help them, they can. So we can divide our elderly who have issues or problems or psychological problems in 3 or 4 baskets. And that will be the way to start with and realize, okay, this kind of elderly need this. Not everybody, we don't have number of psychologists enough to deal with the lakhs of individuals who are requiring or being lonely. They are lonely because they have rejected many parts of society. So we need to train them. And that's where I like to use the word life skills education, Jeevan Kushaltain. And Viniji will be happy to know that Panchtantra ki kahaniyan, Aesop's fables, Buddhist stories are all based on the 10 life skills. Self-awareness being the primary one of them. If you're self-aware, you become empathetic, you are able to deal with problems better, you relate to others because you see the same issues as a human being. So, सबसे ज़्यादा जो है, the self-awareness is an issue. And the Eastern philosophy is always, as we talked about, look inwards. I was speaking with my friend here. So looking inward has been a way of moving about and taking our human journey to its logical conclusion has been by, said for a long time, look inwards and your outward path is defined. Let's end up with that. Thank you very much for listening patiently, and thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Patanjani Nayar, for such marvelous insights. I can see that audience has, responded to your insightful talks in a very receptive manner. Thanks a lot. I would like to call upon Ms. Alina for felicitating Dr. Patanjani Dev Nayar.
Today's National Symposium on Elder Psychological Care is sponsored by lead partner SENI by TZMO Group and associate sponsor Skybarge Private Limited. The event is being supported by All India Radio, Aerotatvika, Marina Handcrafts, and Sukhmanch Theatre. We are happy to announce that SENI is giving away product samples and gifts for everybody attending the symposium today. Please do collect them at the end of the